Hello everyone, thank you for purchasing and welcome to the instructional video for Reconstruct. This is a super fun visual as well as a super fun gimmick to build, so let's get right into it. Let's take a look at this one more time before we build it. We've got 4 pieces of bill, and as we touch them together, they just restore just like that. This gimmick is a couple of parts, and we're going to go over what's going on here before we build it so that you understand what you're building. The first part is this, which these are 3 torn pieces of bill, and these all have magnets on the back of them. And the second part is this final bill that we're also going to build that looks completely normal at the end, but when it folds up into this special zigzag shape, it looks exactly like the last quarter of bill. Now, the one last important part to this gimmick is that there is a sticky dot on the front of this piece, as well as a sticky dot on the back of the last piece. This allows us to very quickly come in with all 4 pieces and pull out the entire bill, making it restored, and then we can steal these pieces off to be able to show a completely restored bill. So let's get into building this. Let's take a look at what we need to build our gimmick. First of all, we're going to need 3 bills. I'm going to go over the specific bills you can use in the next section, so we'll get back to that. Regular gift wrap type tape, scissors, and now some of the more special materials, double-sided tape, as well as these 20mm glue dots, and then lastly, these 10mm square magnets that are super thin, and you're going to need 8 of these to build our standard version. Let's take a closer look at the different bills you can use to build this gimmick. So let's talk about the different types of bills you can use to build this gimmick. When you're working with American currency, you can really use any denomination of regular bill because every single one of our bills is paper and relatively the same size. The other option when you're using American money is to get this prop money. So although this looks like a real $20 bill, these are all fake bills that are printed on paper. The cheaper the prop money you can get, the better, because it's going to make it easier to build and fold up your gimmick. When you're working with other currencies, you may run into the problem of having polymer bills rather than paper bills. In this case, the prop money option works very well because you can get realistic bills like this Canadian one that would be printed in plastic regularly, but instead this is paper and you'll be able to build your gimmick with it. The size of the bill also does not matter. If you're using a larger bill like this, you can do the gimmick in quarters, but I'm also going to teach you how to do the gimmick with smaller bills like this and have it in 3 pieces and then restore exactly like the quarter version. Now we can start building our gimmick. The most important part of this is the Z-type accordion fold that we're going to do for the bill. So let's start with that. You're going to take your bill, and whichever side you want facing out when doing the restore, you're going to put away from you. So in this case, I want the face of the bill away from me. We're going to take the bill, we're going to fold it over on itself to the left, align our corners so we get a nice and square fold straight down the middle. Make sure to crease that really well. Now, keeping it in the same orientation as we just folded it over with, we're now going to take the middle section and fold it back towards us, just like this. And again, align those corners to make sure this fold is as close to centered as possible. Now open up your bill. And now we need to add one more fold in the middle of this quarter. So this is how I like to do that. We're going to take this edge right here, and we're going to bring it over and in to the bill just like that, pushing it right into the center. And now, as long as we align these pieces, we can fold straight into the 8th piece in the middle. And now we've got that extra zigzag fold. Now we just need to do one more fold, which is folding the middle piece back on itself like that. And then this piece folds forward. And now we have our accordion bill fold. If you're using a smaller currency, you may choose to do this in thirds. The rest of the gimmick building process is exactly the same, but you won't have to do this extra fold when you're folding this in thirds. So here's how I like to fold it. I like to take the bill and slowly start pushing it over into what looks like thirds, and then slowly take your time to align it as thirds, as close as you can, crease it, and now we have that same type of fold here, but with thirds, and the rest of the gimmick building process is exactly the same, except for you're going to do everything in thirds. Now that we've got our main bill folded, we're going to start working on the extra piece that goes on the front of this to make it look like it's actually torn. So we're going to take another bill, and we also have to fold this into quarters. This, it doesn't matter which way you fold it, because we're just using these lines as places to tear the bill. So we're going to fold it into quarters, whichever way you'd like, unfold our bill, and now we're going to attach it to this bill. I like to use double-sided tape. What we're going to do is we're going to take two pieces that are about the length of the bill, go over to this leftmost quarter of the bill, right next to the extra fold we did, add a piece of tape close to one edge, take another piece of tape and add it to the other edge. Now we're going to align our bills. So I like to take this bill with this tape on it, and I like to put my middle finger at the bottom, thumb at the top, pointer on the side, and that way I can bring this other bill up, and we're going to match these up perfectly and align both bills to match up, just like that. Press these together. Now, because it's double-sided tape, we don't have to wait any time for it to dry. And now we've got this. So now we're going to make our 4 pieces. So take this back bill, you can fold it up, and we're going to tear off this front piece. The way we do this is we're going to tear towards us. That's because we want the parts of the tear that have kind of pieces of white from the middle of the bill. You want that to be facing this way so that when you unfold this bill, you can't see any of the tear. So we're going to fold this up and start tearing towards us. And you want to make this edge not perfectly straight down. You want to make sure people can see that there really is a torn piece of bill. And now this looks like a quarter of a torn bill, although we know it's actually can unfold like this. And then because we've folded towards us, and if you've aligned the bills properly, when this opens up, this will blend right into the front of the bill. Now we're going to make our other pieces, so just tear down your other fold lines, just like this. Again, tearing towards you if you want to match them, but it's not as necessary as the other ones. All right. So now we've got our pieces. Let's get into adding some magnets. All right, now's the fun part. We get to add our super thin magnets onto this bill. So how I like to do it is I like to start with a piece of regular clear tape and get one that is about the inside of this American bill of the printing. You can use any size you want. You just have to be able to fit a magnet at the top of the bill and a magnet at the bottom of the bill and have them taped securely down. So I like to take this piece of tape, and then I like to take a magnet and adhere it to the top of the tape, another magnet, and adhere it to the bottom of the tape, and now press these down onto the back rightmost quarter of the bill. And so we have 2 magnets on here just like that. Now we're going to put the magnets on the other bills. You've already done the hardest magnets because the rest of these will align themselves. So let's take this next piece and we're going to make sure it is within the lines of the top and the bottom of the bill. And then we're going to move it over to the rightmost part of the bill to where the farthest fold away from the edge is about 1 millimeter from the rightmost edge of the actual full bill. That way, when we restore the bill, you can't see the tears behind the bill. Now we can, again, take our magnets, and this time we can just drop them down. They'll snap right into place, and we can just take our tape and tape these down. And we're going to do the same thing for the next 2 bills. So again, take this and make sure that it's aligned with the top and bottom of the bill and move it over close enough and add on our 2 magnets, tape them down. Same thing with the last bill. We're going to take 2 more magnets, add them on top, make sure they get thrown down to the right place. Oh. 1 magnet here, 1 magnet down there, and again, we're going to tape these down. All right, now we've got most of our gimmick done. We have our zigzag piece that has magnets on the back, and then the rest of the 3 pieces of bill also magnet straight onto the back. So the next part we're going to do is we are going to shorten these 3 pieces. All right, so you're going to take your scissors and we're going to trim a little bit off of the top and the bottom of the bill. Pieces away. And now we've got our 3 pieces just like that. Now we're going to clean up the magnet on the back of the full bill so that you can show both sides of this at the end of performing. So again, take your double-sided tape just like we did for the front right here. We're going to take 2 pieces that are about the length of the bill, throw them down on each side of the last quarter, just like that. And same process as before, using our fingers to perfectly align these bills. And just like that, now we're in the same place as before where we've got 2 bills aligned, but this time instead of ripping off, we're going to cut off. So we are going to fold this bill up in front, and we can just take our scissors, and we want to make sure to not cut this fold off because then we won't have a gimmick, but just try and cut the gimmick all the way or the bill all the way behind and cut it off as close to that fold as you can. And now we've just covered up our 2 magnets in the back, making our bill completely clean. The final step is adding the glue dots. Now, these glue dots are repositionable, so you can take them off and put new ones on your bills when they dry up. But if you're really worried about destroying your bill, because sometimes a bit of it can get torn off with the glue bit, I would recommend putting a piece of regular tape down here and then putting the glue dot on top, because then as you peel off the glue dot, it won't tear up the bill. But if not, we're just going to get right into using these. So you're going to take one of them and you're going to cut it directly in half. So you only need 1 for each gimmick. Take the first half. We're going to take our full final bill. We're going to go to the left side that's ripped, and we're going to add on our first glue dot, just like that, and peel off the backing. So now we've got 1 glue dot in the front for our fingers, and now on the final piece of bill, this back one that's going to be where our thumb rests. We're going to take the other half, add it right in the middle as well, right between our magnets, and peel up the backing again. And now you have just built a Reconstruct gimmick. Let's get into how to use this. Now that we've got our gimmick built, let's check out how to perform this. This is going to take some time to practice, not necessarily because the handling is hard, but because you have to get used to moving with the magnets to make sure they don't accidentally stick together too early. So let's start by separating out all of our pieces. So we've got all 4 pieces like this. We're going to fold up our bill over here. And then in that same hand, we can take our second piece and put it behind and right to the right of it. And then our other piece sticks to our hand over here. And then we also need to grab our final piece just like this. Get used to how you like to hold these in your hands. You're going to want to be able to move these up and down without the magnets touching. So just like this, and you can see that the magnets aren't clicking together early, just like that. Also, you can kind of separate the bills just by pushing them apart if the magnets do click together early. But you're going to show all 4 pieces of the bill. You're going to come down like this so that all the pieces are completely aligned, just like that. All right, and you want them to be in order. So we've got the front piece, and then this second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter from front to back. We're going to come in. We're going to push both of our hands together, which aligns all these pieces into one bunch. And now, since we have sticky on our first front fingers and sticky on the back thumb, if we now simply pull apart, this bill will come apart and restore itself. So one more time, we're going to have our bill folded up. We're going to have what looks like all 4 pieces. They're going to come together, and then we're going to be able to pull apart and restore. Let's take a look at this from my perspective. So this is our completed gimmick, but from the back. Let's take our 3 pieces off, fold up our bill just like this. Make sure it's nice and tight. And now spread apart our 3 pieces going from front to back. So we have sticky in the front and on the back on our thumb. We can now move these pieces around, making sure they don't stick to the other magnets early. So just like that, we can completely show 4 different pieces. We're now going to come in together straight like that and come back out with using the sticky on the front and back to easily pull the bill apart. So one more time, we're going to take our 4 pieces, show them like this, align them so it looks like it's almost like a complete bill. And really quickly, we're going to come in and come straight back out. Straight back out with our 4 pieces behind the bill. We can now rotate this 90 degrees like this, and I like to steal off all 3 pieces right into palm. Ditch these, and you can now show the gimmick. So when you have the final bill and you've stolen off your pieces, the only real flashpoint is because on the back, this is going to look completely normal. And on the front, this looks mostly normal, except for we, of course, have our extra fold piece right here. So a tip for helping this blend in is before you're performing, take this and use your finger to just kind of bend it downwards. So that way, instead of being upwards on the bill like this and really showing up, you're going to push it all the way down so that as soon as the bill folds out, it goes in and blends right in. And as long as you keep this straight, you can't see that tear, and you can turn it over, and now you can completely show this. As you're learning this, I recommend to start slow. Start making sure you can show all 4 pieces, make sure they all come together, and then come right back apart just like that. as you get more used to handling these bills, you can, of course, make your handling faster. You don't need to be super fast at this to make the restore look good, but as you build up speed, it'll look even better. Once you've got this restored down and practice, you can now steal off these back 3 pieces to make the bill look completely normal. So all you're going to do is you're going to use your back thumb, put pressure on all 3 pieces, and they will all come off together just like this. As long as you put a little bit of pressure down, the friction and the magnets will bring all the pieces over. You can bring them either over into your hand like this, straight across, or I like to twist the bill 90 degrees and pull them off into my hand because then they get into palm like this. So again, we're going to work on restoring our bill, making sure that this piece is completely folded up, and then all of these 4 pieces are shown separately. They come in together, they come right back out. You can't see anything from the front because we've shortened the bills and made sure that these are all a little bit farther away from the edge. You can then steal this piece off, put it down, and now you have what looks to be a completely normal bill on the front and the back. When you're performing this for social media or for a camera, here's a couple key points to keep in mind. So first of all, since we're doing it for the camera, we want to make sure we do enough takes and watch over those takes to make sure we get one where nothing flashes. So key things to watch out for are this bill, this folded bill, flashing from the front. If you're tilting this down too much, you want to keep this directly towards the camera. And then at the end, having these, when these come up, having these somehow flash up or down if you've pulled a little too hard. Then, when you go to ditch these pieces, you can do what I did when I originally posted this, which is ditch these off of the camera. So in whatever way you're shooting, you can always come down to the bottom of the frame or over to the side of the frame, get these off as fast as possible, and you instantly have this completely restored bill that on camera is going to look perfect. Let's get into how to perform this with a full bill at the beginning, which you can then take and tear just like this. Tear it into corners like this. So now you can really see that there's 4 pieces of bill out on the table. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of bill. And just like this, if we look, it almost looks like they're together. And now they are. And now you've got a restored bill. Let's get into how to build this. Let's take a look at how to build this more advanced tearable handling. You're going to have to start with your standard bill, and this is going to be kept completely the same. So this we're going to leave over here, and we're going to need an extra bill, 8 magnets on top of the 2 that are already in here, some regular tape, and then our scissors again. We're going to start by folding up our bill. This just needs to be in quarters. There's no specific way to do this. So again, just folding it in quarters, getting a good crease so we can tear it relatively easily. And just like that as well. All right. So now that we've got this folded into quarters, we're going to leave it to make it easier for us to trim off the top and bottom of this piece as well. So we're going to do just like you did on the 3 pieces earlier. Trim off a little bit from the top and a little bit from the bottom. Those to the side. Now we've got our bill. And now we basically need to put magnets on just like we did with our 3 already torn pieces before. We're going to do that same thing, but with all 4 pieces of this bill. So let's take a look at how to do that. We're going to start with this again, and we're going to open it up so we can see our last quarter over here. And we're going to go to the first quarter of this bill. Now we're going to take our last quarter over here and first over here, and we're going to line them up as perfectly as we can. Obviously, the top and bottom won't be aligned because we've already shortened it, but we want to line both the creases of the quarter just like that. And we're now going to add our magnets just like we did before. And tape these down. All right, so that's the first quarter. Now we're going to move on to the second quarter. So this time, instead of perfectly aligning the two folds of each of the quarters, we're going to place it down and now bring the rightmost fold, so this is technically the center fold of the bill, and we're going to move it over 1 millimeter just like we did with the other torn pieces of the bill. We're going to slap our 2 magnets down. If I can get these apart together. All right, slap our 2 magnets down and tape them just like we did before. We're going to repeat this again for the third quarter of the bill. So we're going to go align it as best we can, move this fold 1 millimeter over from the edge of this bill, and throw our 2 magnets down, tape them down. And then our final quarter, we're also going to do where we leave a 1 millimeter gap here, throw 2 magnets down, and use our tape one last time to make this bill. Now we can take these apart. And now we've got the 2 pieces we're going to need to do the terrible handling. Let's go into that right now. The final step of making the terrible gimmick is adding our glue dot just like we did in the standard version. Just like before, we're going to go to our rightmost corner now and add it on here because we already have it on our other piece, and remove the backing. And you have now built your terrible gimmick. All right, let's learn this terrible handling. So we're going to start with this bill, which we're going to tear. This can be out on the table. And this bill is going to go folded up, and it's going to go somewhere on you that you can easily steal off into palm. So in this case, I'm going to leave it on my lap. For explanation purposes, I'll leave it up here so you can see it, but it could be in a pocket, in a hoodie, or in your pants, or wherever you like to carry it. This bill we're going to start with, we're going to make sure these creases are nice and creased so this tears easily. This first quarter is going to have to be pretty straight down on our crease. So we're going to tear it like this, and just like that, there's our first quarter. And the rest of these you can make as zigzaggy as you want. So make that a little more interesting. All right, so now you've just torn a bill into 4 pieces. You now need to go down. I like to do this on my lap because you can bring your hand straight down into your lap to steal off this final bill that we're going to have. And now, as you're showing that this bill is really torn up into 4 pieces, you can come up with this piece palmed, and this bill will attach itself right onto the rest of the gimmick. So again, we're basically, instead of switching this out for our folded piece, we're just adding the folded piece on. So we're coming up with this palmed, And as it comes up, now we have our final bill piece. Now we can proceed with the exact same handling we did in the standard one, picking up all 4 pieces of the bill, taking them, and now you've just torn and restored a bill. Same thing as before. You can steal, now this is 4 pieces, but same process of stealing these off, and now this is completely clean. Thanks again for purchasing Reconstruct. I'd like to go over again, making sure when you're performing this to the camera, do as many takes as you need. Make sure to practice this. Although this is a gimmick that does most of the work for you, you still need to take the time to learn and perfect the move of coming together and coming apart really quick, so this looks just like you've just tapped the 4 pieces together and they restore. You don't have to do this with bills. You could always do it with other objects such as receipts. So if you have plastic bills in your country, play around with different objects that are made out of paper and they'll work exactly the same. If you are performing this, we'd love to see your performances. So tag either me on Instagram at WillTyrrell52 or Vanishing Ink as well on Instagram. Thanks again for purchasing and supporting. I'll see you next time.